I'm going to start off with this man here. This man is called Mahmoud Qamati. Mahmoud Qamati is the deputy head of the political side of Hizbullah. He had an interview last night with Al Jazeera to elaborate following the attempted assassination against Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, he did not outright say that they did indeed target him, but everything he said in that interview is hinting that Hezbollah is behind this. Firstly, he said that after he was asked, did you try to assassinate him? He said, we told the enemy that we are in a new phase now, the phase of inflicting pain on Israel, and that we will be having surprises. And like Israel says, the world is better without Sayyid Nasrallah, and the world is better without Sinwar, and the Americans and the people supporting them say that, the US administration, before any, of course, of our American viewers get offended. He said, we say that the world is better without them. The world is better without Benjamin Netanyahu, and the world is better without the United States administration. Meaning that Hezbollah targeted Benjamin Netanyahu, and they're owning up to it. Now, when it comes to Israel, they are now introducing a new phase. Firstly, after the attempted assassination of Benjamin Netanyahu, we started to have attacks on the southern suburbs of Lebanon. So Israel stopped attacking the Dahiya al-Janubiyya, it's called the southern suburb of Lebanon. But now after the attempted assassination, it's as if that's it. You know, we started to target it again. And now we had a statement coming from Yoav Gallant. What did Yoav Gallant say? He said, we entered a new phase with Hezbollah. So Hezbollah said, we have a new phase. Now Yoav Gallant is saying, we have a new phase too. What's that new phase, Yoav Gallant? This new phase is moving from defeating Hezbollah to eliminating Hezbollah. And that's a good aim for Israel. It's another mission impossible from Israel. Like they said, we want to eliminate Hamas. You know, mission impossible. They're saying that again for Hezbollah. And why do I say that's good that they're declaring that? Because they're again putting another aim that they will be failing at. So far, they failed in all of their military objectives, getting the prisoners back, eliminating Hamas before getting the prisoners back. Don't forget the prisoners in Israel, really. Netanyahu caring about the prisoners. Oh, no one cares about them in the government. And making Gaza not pose a threat again. And now returning the people back to the north, following Hezbollah assassination. Following the intensifying situation with Hezbollah. So, not only that they haven't achieved any of their objectives before, they made the prospect of reaching those aims far, far more impossible. So with Gaza, well, they're strengthening Hamas. The prisoners, they're dying one by one. They don't know where the hell they are. You know, they said that Sinwar was hiding and whatever. They found him by coincidence over the ground fighting them. So what kind of intel do they have there, especially with all of the resources that they put? So now they're saying we want to eliminate Hezbollah. That's not to be taken lightly. Why? Because when Israel says that, that means they are entering a new phase of escalation. And this new phase of escalation, when it comes to Israel, expect more destruction similar to what's happening in Gaza, which is the second thing that I want to talk to you about. The situation in Gaza is getting far worse than before, especially in the northern part of Gaza. We had over 20,000 people being forced out of Jabalia, and the Israelis today only targeted 4 schools that are being used as shelter for children and people fleeing the war. So you're talking about a very disastrous situation. But despite all of that, they're suffering more. Today, they killed the commander of Brigade 401 in Israel. He's at a colonel level in Israel. This is a very senior figure being targeted by Hamas, again signaling that despite all of the catastrophe that Israel is inflicting on the civilian population, which is typical to Israel, they are achieving no significant progress when it comes to the people who they're claiming they're fighting. And that's the same situation with Lebanon. Likewise with Lebanon, if they are saying that we want to eliminate Hezbollah, first they expect catastrophes when it comes to Hezbollah, when it comes to Lebanon, by the way. Expect Israel to do more catastrophes and more genocide against the Lebanese people. They killed over 2,000 Lebanese so far, almost double the amount that they killed during the 2006 war so far. And again, from Hezbollah's perspective, we entered a new phase that does not have red lines. That's another thing that MahmoodOD said. There are no red lines. So Israel crossed all red lines, meaning we are at a phase of an open war, a total open war that could be leading to a much greater war later on. There is one other interesting thing that I wanted to share with you. After the attempted assassination of Benjamin Netanyahu, that Hezbollah confirmed, so that no one says it's Israel pretending, Hezbollah confirmed. They didn't deny and outright said, they're killing our leaders. There are no red lines, and the world would be better without Benjamin Netanyahu. They're saying the world is better without our leaders. We tell them the world is better without your leaders and without the United States administration as well. The world would be better without them. Now, we had statements coming from Israel blaming Iran, saying that Iran must have given the confirmation to Hezbollah. And MahmoodOD himself, he said, no, Hezbollah is a Lebanese national movement, and we base our actions based on our interests and our national interests. We don't get orders. This is something very important, because many people say Hezbollah, they're like an Iranian proxy. They do as they're ordered by Iran. No, the man is confirming. And it's not only him who's confirming that, it's Iran confirming that. And I will tell you about the talk that we started to have after this from people who are also supportive of the resistance. So we had this report. Iran's first response to Netanyahu's accusation that it attempted to assassinate him and his wife with a drone targeting this home. The Iranian Foreign Ministry denied on Saturday evening any connection between Tehran and the drone that targeted the home of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baqai said in a statement to the Iranian news agency IRNA, commenting on Netanyahu's statements, that the Zionist entity was founded on lies and distorting the facts. That and spreading lies is the current and permanent practice of this entity and its criminal leaders. He added, in turn, the Iranian mission to the United Nations denied Tehran's responsibility for targeting Netanyahu's home with a drone. And the mission said in a statement to the American newspaper, The Wall Street Journal, that the drone attack on Netanyahu's residence was carried out by the Lebanese Hezbollah. We have responded ourselves to Israel's attack against Iran, but the latest act was carried out by the Lebanese Hezbollah. So, Israel is denying any involvement. And we'll get to that in a second. The Israeli Prime Minister's office announced earlier today that a drone launched from Lebanon hit Netanyahu's home in Caesarea, northern Israel, noting that he was not present at the home. Netanyahu stressed that the Iranian agents who tried to assassinate him made a grave mistake, considering that the assassination attempt would not prevent Israel from continuing the war. The Iranian agents who tried to assassinate me and my wife today made a grave mistake. this will not stop me or deter the state of Israel from continuing its war of renaissance. Ooh, renaissance. Tkuma. Against our enemies to ensure our security for generations to come, Netanyahu said in a statement. He continued, I say to the Iranians and their partners in the axis of evil, anyone who harms the citizens of the state of Israel will pay a heavy price for it. What do we understand? Firstly, you have some people criticizing Iran. Why don't you take responsibility, or why don't you say that? No. It's good that Iran didn't say anything. Why? Because it wasn't them. Secondly, it proves to the whole world that Hizbullah, they are a Lebanese national resistance movement. Supported by Iran, yes, but they don't follow the orders of Iran with everything. And they do whatever they see fit based on their front. Israel targeted their senior figure, and in return, they're targeting Israel's senior figure. Fair play. Is Israel playing by any laws? No, they're not playing. They haven't played by any laws. Everything is unconventional and disastrous since the beginning. It's not as if Israel was only targeting, and they know how to target specifically Israel. They know how to target people individually. If they want to send a drone to someone's house, you saw the assassinations of Haniya and others. If they want a targeted assassination or what have you, or target certain figures. But of course, Israel's main approach when it comes to their fighting is to cause destruction and target the civilian population, because that's how they operate ever since their inception. So Hizbullah is acting based on Lebanese interests, as we understand from them. Iran has nothing to do with it. That's something that I don't personally see as something negative. And at the end of the day, Hizbullah will act according to their needs. Because also, don't forget, Israel might try to use that as leverage to try and justify their attack against Iran. And by the way, it appears to be that the Israelis are very upset with the leaks that came from the United States. We had many people in Israel, including very close aides to Netanyahu, saying that this must be a senior figure in the US administration. It mustn't have, it must be someone at a top level, not just someone rogue. No, they need to receive orders to hinder us hitting Iran or to deter us from targeting Iran. So they're taking it seriously. Okay. Will that change what they're planning to do? Well, if the leak that we spoke about yesterday was indeed valid and true, it might change certain things. However, if it's not, then they're going to carry out whatever they need. And now with the attempted assassination that's coming from Hizbullah against Netanyahu, they'll say, well, we want to target the supreme leader of Iran. That's from this side. Moving on to the next subject. Alqaeda, like George W. Bush used to call Al-Qaeda. If you remember those days of the Iraq war, there was so much propaganda going on. And whenever the United States administration, we had Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice at the time, they always used to say, believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. Everything was believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. Well, now we know what's Al-Qaeda. What's their Al-Qaeda? This was published on the Times of Israel. Al-Qaeda advisor calls for Hamas to free the hostages. He's trying to act as if he's with them, but listen carefully. And I posted a screenshot of this before, and some people start to comment like, who's the advisor, Anthony Blinken, or is it someone from the Israeli government? It shows you whose side they're on. An advisor to Al-Qaeda's likely current leader is calling for Hamas to release its Israeli hostages held in Gaza, according to an American jihadist monitoring organization site. The online declaration was made yesterday by Mustafa Hamid, also known as Abu al-Walid al-Masri, who is the father-in-law of Saif al-Adl, the man widely believed to now head Alqaeda, according to site. In it, Hamid claims the attention given to recovering the Israeli hostages held by Hamas since October 7th, 2023, both dead and alive, is overshadowing the fate of the Palestinian security prisoners being held by Israel. Look at the excuse, trying to act as if, he's supporting the Palestinians. It's for your own good, Palestinians. Release the hostages as well. Not the prisoners, the hostages. He also hails Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. Of course, he has to cover up with something. The mastermind of the massacre, according to them. Who committed the massacre? You committed the massacre, you liars. Of the ongoing war in Gaza, was killed by Israel this week. Hamas must now immediately return the hostages and their bodies, and this file must be closed and not open again, as we know its consequences, according to the statement. No one cares about the Palestinian prisoners, neither in the media, in negotiations, nor in demonstrations, it adds. Several experts consulted by AFP say Hamid is close to higher-ups in the core Al-Qaeda organization. The group, which has spawned regional affiliates in Syria, Yemen, Somalia, and Mali, has little leverage over Hamas, which is backed by Iran. Firstly, a couple of things here. I mean, Al-Qaeda is a very suspicious organization from the origins, really. Remember, the United States used to support Al-Qaeda and the groups fighting the Soviet Union from the days of Afghanistan. The National Security Advisor at the time, Zbigniew Brzezinski, went to visit them in Afghanistan, telling them, you are the soldiers of God, your fight is holy, go and take back your mosques and houses from these evil Soviets, and it used to support them with weapons. And when the United States was supporting them with weapons, what did they do? They allowed the Arab states under the US umbrella to call for action and start sending people, right? What I like to label as the American Jihad. Whenever it's acceptable, you will hear the clerics in the Arab and Muslim world, go fight these people, blah, blah. The same people who aren't saying a word, aren't saying a word, who are criticizing the Palestinian resistance against Israel. A very blatant case of right versus wrong, by the way. No, go and fight when it's an Arab country, or whenever there's an American interest, or if it's a state that the United States wants to take down. All of a sudden you hear some clerics in the Arab and Muslim world, in Saudi Arabia and in other countries, oh yes, this is the thing. Go and fight for your brothers and sisters, and. Okay. Well, everyone with a bit of a background knowledge knows how suspicious this thing is. And plus, these websites are very suspicious too. Very suspicious. A website clearly made by intelligence agencies, and Lord knows if this figure exists or not. Just statements coming out. Who's the person? I don't know who's the person. Go figure who's the person. We knew who the leaders were. We knew who the man who led ISIS was. Special status in the US president in Iraq, and all of a sudden America decides to release him, because they're very kind, after he was supposedly one of the most dangerous people. So, like I said, it's revealing everything. It's revealing these movements, who's behind them, who they serve, who they don't serve, and their main operation, pushing for the campaign of Islamophobia, right? And all of this talk in the media 24/7. And now it's very clear. Al-Qaeda saying, release the hostages. Nothing clearer than that. Now, another question here. What is Israel going to do with Iran? What is Israel going to do with Iran? And will they go on an all-out war with Iran? Firstly, there's a notion that if Israel goes on a very big attack on Iran, that this will involve most likely the United States administration. It will most likely involve the US. Now, so far, the United States failed to recruit any support for Israel. I mean, the only thing they have is them in the UK and the Red Sea, this genocide coalition. They couldn't even get the bigger group in that coalition that they made, like Italy, I think it was, in Greece, and a couple of other countries too. Some of them just sent officers, nothing active. But an attack against Iran, no. Now they're facing problems. France embargo on Israel, Italy embargo on Israel, the United Nations always criticizing them, and well, what are they going to do? But they're going to have to stick with Israel. This is the notion that is understood, unless that is the United States administration has a plan that we don't know about that might be as follows: we will support Israel so long as they are able to hold themselves together with whatever they need. Why? Because we're making money out of it, firstly. And a lot of it is about money. So the continuation, the foreign aid, the tens and hundreds of billions to them in Ukraine, it's feeding the greed of the people who thrive on the blood and destruction of other people. So fine, we're making money, continue the war. However, if it reaches a stage where that's it, Israel is about to collapse, they'll probably let it die. And some people in Israel realize that. Not many of them, some do, but their voices are not effective. Like there's a notion going on, and has been going on in Israel, by the way, for a while now, that Netanyahu is planted there to end Israel, planted by the United States to end Israel. In the meantime, feeding money to the military-industrial complex, waging all of these wars. Of course, there is a United States attempt to have, a stamp in the Middle East, but if it fails with what Israel is doing, because Israel's taking the lead when it comes to that, they might take a different position. And I personally believe that the United States administration, they already have plans for the day after Israel. Israel's collapse is just, a matter of time now. It's evident. They're going on a maximalist war. They have people betraying them from within. The supporters of Netanyahu are saying that everyone left-wing are traitors, serving Iran and serving Sinwar and serving Hamas. That's when Sinwar was still alive, because they're protesting against the government, therefore serving their enemies. Hamas supporters, they used to call them. So it's you're talking about a very, very intense situation. And Israel might have a massive attack in Iran, and not necessarily with the United States. They might do that on their own. However, there is a likelihood that the United States will at some point join them, which will lead to a far greater war.